Hi, good morning and welcome to Philip Says. Today we're going to be discussing field trips. I'm going to make 3 programs, but this one is specifically on field trips to Bali, of which I probably took approximately 20 with the school from Jakarta. I was lucky enough to lead approximately 80 school field trips, and the other 2 videos will discuss field trips in Java and field trips internationally. But today we're going to focus on Bali and why it's such a good location for field trips. Okay, now don't forget the biggest disaster to befall field trips is always around water. Water kills. And unfortunately, before we begin, I'm going to talk about an incident approximately 20 years ago, which happened to possibly the best international school in in Jakarta, which is BIS, British International School. So they took a field trip to Java, and on the day of the field trip where they were going hiking, there was huge accident. One girl and one of the guides was swept away in a tidal wave. She was Korean, and they never found her body. I think they found the guide's body. Very sad story. Later, one of the teachers on the trip, because most of the teachers were Indonesian on that trip, but the main teacher, the lead teacher, was a Westerner. And it transpired that this guy had a hangover the day before, so he didn't lead the group. It's essential that when I'm leading a group, I'm with the group, wherever they are, whatever they're doing. It doesn't mean I'm holding their hands, but I should be with the group if I'm leading the group. Simple as. Okay, so one main rule before we start the others is 10 fingers, 10 toes. I want 10 fingers and 10 toes to come back with me. Simple as. Safety is paramount on a school trip. Things can happen, as we will see. Negligence is no excuse at all. So, here are the 10 rules that I would choose for using when you're on a field trip, whether Bali or whether abroad. And the first one, you mustn't make a field trip mandatory. If you make a field trip mandatory, you're forcing kids to go when they don't want to. Believe it or not, the Korean girl who was to die was begging her mother not to go on that field trip. It was mandatory. I know this because I taught Koreans, and it was quite a gossipy scene at the time. So anyway, we won't dwell on that one. But okay, so the parents are very possessive, or it's too expensive. Fine. There is no mandatory. That's very important. Next, if you're going abroad, keep the passports of the students once they go through immigration. It bit me on the bum once where we didn't do this, but I'll talk about that when we talk about going abroad. Next, check rooms at night. Usually we have a lights out policy, whether 10, 11, depending on the grade. So at 10, I'd go with another teacher, we'd check what room each of the kids was in, knock on the door. If Nadine says, yes, who is it? Fantastic. Okay, Nadine, move on. Now, if the student opened the door without questioning, what are you doing? Wow, you put the fear of God in them. I know it sounds horrible, but it's a lesson. Hopefully they're learning away from the school, and one of the learning processes is you don't open a door to a stranger. This bit me in the bum with a teacher called Pak Dede, great guy, and we're going along, each room, 242, knock on the door, somebody opens the door, what are you doing? And of course it's not one of the students. It's a guy who's leaping up and down, going, ah, ah. He's freaking out because I'd scared him to death. Anyway, we just kind of walked away and left it at that, nothing to do. But that was a lesson for him as well as I, as Impact Dede. Come on, check the numbers before you tell me. Anyway, that's just a result, and it only happened once, thank God. Whenever outside, always a minimum of 2 students. We'd go to water parks, we'd go to theme parks, and I'd let them just go off. But always in pairs minimum. Simple as. Okay. Take teachers who are interactive. Don't take teachers who are disliked. Don't take teachers who, they're always moaning. I want happy people. Happy people. On a field trip, very important. When you get to the airport at the end, always wait till the end. Even if the parents are 10 or 15 minutes late, it doesn't matter. Wait. And finally, always do a head count on a bus. So sometimes we were 2 buses, 3 buses, 4 buses, so one teacher would be in charge of a bus. Make sure that they do a head count before you go, not where's Johnny 20 minutes further down the road. So those are the tips for field trips. Now, there are 2 stories that I'd like to relate to you that, well, they could have had major consequences. And the first, so when we went to Bali, we did many things. We do whitewater rafting. We always do water bomb. Water bomb is fantastic for kids, by the way, whether you're on a field trip or just with a couple of your kids. Well recommended. Come on, we're here for fun. It doesn't have to be all culture. Then, of course, we'd have a day at Tanalot, maybe see the Monkey Forest or Kintamani Temple, do a Ketchak dance. But mainly, we went for fun. Remember, the kids are paying for this. They're paying for the teachers. They're paying for me. So I want them to have the best time possible. I'm sorry, going to museums, seeing lots of culture, let mum and dad do that. You must enjoy. It must be thrilling. It must be entertaining. That's my opinion. Not everybody has the same opinion on field trips. So, the first story happened about 24 years ago. It was one of the early field trips, and the principal at the time said he didn't want whitewater rafting. Okay, so what about cycling? No problem. So, here we go. There's about 70 of us. We're on bikes, and I noticed very early on, we're in a forest area. Some of the kids don't even know how to ride a bike. Oh well. So, off we go down the trail. There's a couple of guides, and there's me at the back just to make sure. There's even a bus which will be following us. A truck, which will take anyone who is tired or has fallen off the bike. So, off we go. Within 5 minutes, oh my God, we're on a road. No! A road in Bali. Kids, 12, 13, cycling. If you've been to Bali, you'll know that trucks especially, they're bombing down the road. It's dangerous. Anyway, I put my Bradley Wiggins legs on and off I go. I'm bombing down this hill, catching students who are wobbling. Stop! And then the truck would pick them up. Managed to get to the front of the line after about 5 minutes, pretty exhausted, thank God, and that left us with about 20. One Korean girl actually fell off. She didn't break her arm, she sprained. I took her to the, what would it be, clinic, and she got x-rayed, but she was fine. The second one, and I'll put a picture of this, is we were coming back from Benoa on a bus, different field trip. This is almost my last field trip for Jakarta school. And we're coming back, there's about 28 of us. I always sat at the front of the bus because the view, make sure he doesn't fall asleep, and just, I enjoyed being at the front. All of a sudden, this green thing's rolling towards us. Oh my God, it's an LPG canister. Now, if you've seen Mythbusters, I don't think they've done a program on whether a canister like that hits a bus going up. I don't know what would happen. But the bottom line is, it missed us by inches, and I must admit, we were very lucky. So those are my two stories when we relate to Bali. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, bah, bah, don't be a sheep.